Before this lecture begins, I'd like you to open a new web browser and pull up the course website. Click on the link to the Scansion quizzes, which you'll find in the scrolling Unit Activities window or under Unit Resources for the week. At 3 times during this mini lecture, I'll ask you to pause this video to complete the Scansion quizzes on the course website. So pause this video now and make sure that you've opened a separate browser with links to the Scansion quizzes. Okay. Now, on to the lecture. This mini-lecture provides an introduction to scansion, that is, the analysis of verse into metrical patterns. I'm going to read aloud these 2 sentences. They share a word in common, but that word sounds quite different in each sentence. Darth Vader crushed the rebel soldier. Luke Skywalker will rebel against his dad. Can you hear the difference between the way rebel or rebel sounds in the first and second sentences? It is spelled the same, so what made the difference in sound? That difference is a change in stress. As we speak, we naturally stress some syllables and leave other syllables unstressed. In the first example, the pattern in the word rebel is stressed, then unstressed. In the second example, the pattern in the word rebel is unstressed, then stressed. But rebel or rebel, these are not the only words with stress in these sentences. Darth Vader crushed the rebel soldier. Luke Skywalker will rebel against his dad. Now I'm going to read those sentences again, but I'm going to overly stress, exaggeratedly stress the stressed syllables. Darth Vader crushed the rebel soldier. Luke Skywalker will rebel against his dad. To indicate the variations in stress, we have a system of notation. We put a diagonal line over a stressed syllable and a small curving loop over the unstressed syllable. So for these examples, we would write, Darth Vader crushed the rebel soldier. Luke Skywalker will rebel against his dad. Rhyme is not the only part of poetry. The main component of poetry is its meter. When a poem has a recognizable but varying pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables, the poetry is said to be written in accentual syllabic verse. Almost all of the poetry we'll read this semester is written in accentual syllabic verse. The example sentences about Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker do not have a repetitive pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables, and so they are just spoken words. Now, before we go on, let's make sure that we can all identify stressed and unstressed syllables. Please pause this video now and take the first of the 3 scansion quizzes. Repeat the quiz until you get 100%. It will not be graded. Welcome back from the first scansion quiz. I hope it wasn't too difficult. Now that we can identify stressed and unstressed syllables, let's talk about what happens when they take on patterns. Unlike the examples from the first scansion quiz, lines of accentual syllabic poetry have regular repetitive meter. The most popular meter, the money of English poetry, is iambic pentameter. Most of you are familiar with iambic pentameter from previous experiences with poetry, but let's take a minute to review. What does it mean to be iambic? Well, an iamb is what we call a foot or a repeated pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. In the case of an iamb, that pattern is really simple. It's just one unstressed syllable followed by one stressed syllable. There are, I'm sure, many reasons why the iamb has become the most popular foot in English poetry, but here are 2. One is that it mimics the heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. 2 is that it is echoed by the syncopation in music. So for those of you who have studied music, you know that syncopation is the tying of a weak beat to a strong beat, which produces a kind of a swing, like in jazz music. Now, of course, iambs are not the only kind of foot in poetry, so here's a list of the 8 most popular foot types. You'll find a copy of this list included as an attachment to this video and on the page linking the Scansion quizzes. The iamb, as we've mentioned, is the most popular foot of English poetry. The trochee is its inverse. Sometimes, particularly at the start of a line, you'll see an iamb inverted, and we call this a trochaic inversion. The anapest is actually a foot with 3 syllables: unstressed, unstressed, stressed. And the anapest has been called the devil's beat. It shouldn't be a shock that you'll hear the devil's beat at work in a piece of rock and roll music. Weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong. Dactyl is an anapest inverted. A spondee is 2 stressed syllables. You'll find this foot in a line with strong and demanding words. A pyrrhic is meek and appropriately quite seldom found. An amphibrach is unstressed, stressed, unstressed, and an amphimecer is stressed, unstressed, stressed. You'll find that amphimecers are most commonly used in great heroic poems. With 2 stresses in there, it's a very bold foot. Let's make sure that you can identify some of these feet. Please pause this video now and take the second of the 3 Scansion quizzes. Repeat the quiz until you get 100%. It will not be graded. Welcome back from the second Scansion quiz. Now, if we're writing exclusively in, say, iambs, we might choose to write in lines with 3, 4, 5, or more or fewer feet per line. So here are the terms for feet per line: monometer, dimeter, trimeter, tetrameter, pentameter, hexameter, heptameter, octameter. Now you have the 2 components of identifying meter. First, you identify the principal type of foot, and then you count to see how many feet per line. Take a minute to scan this stanza of poetry from Thomas Gray's Elegy written in a country churchyard. Can you identify the type of foot used and how many feet per line? I'll read the stanza twice, once with a normal reading, and the second time I'll stress the stresses. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day, the lowing herd winds slowly o'er the lea, the ploughman homeward plods his weary way, and leaves the world to darkness and to me. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day, the lowing herd winds slowly o'er the lea, the ploughman homeward plods his weary way, and leaves the world to darkness and to me. Here are those lines scanned, and as you can see, it's a simple pattern of iambs. There are 5 iambs per line, so this poem is in iambic pentameter. Let's do one more example from verses supposed to be written by Alexander Selkirk. It's a poem by William Cowper. Again, I'll read the lines twice, the first time normally and the second time with artificial stress. I am a monarch of all I survey, my right there is none to dispute. From the center all round to the sea, I am lord of the fowl and the brute. I am monarch of all I survey, my right there is none to dispute. From the center all round to the sea, I am lord of the fowl and the brute. Now hear those same lines scanned. Weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong. That pattern of unstressed, unstressed, stressed, that's an anapest. And there are 3 anapests per line. So we would call this anapestic trimeter. Now, you probably also noticed that in the second line, that first foot, my right, that's not an anapest. So what we have is called a substitution, more specifically, an iambic substitution. Please pause this video now and take the final Scansion quiz. For this quiz, you'll probably want a piece of scratch paper and pen in hand. Take your time with this quiz and keep going until you get 100%. It will not be graded. Hopefully, now you've learned how to scan a line of poetry. You can both name the dominant foot type and count the number of feet per line. You've learned then how to identify the meter in which a poem is written. So before we go, I have one last little trick to teach you. If you ever have a problem memorizing the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables for a dactyl, Just hold up your left index finger and count. Ready? I'm going to do it for you. There's my left index finger. Long, short, short. Stressed, unstressed, unstressed. And there you have it. And you'll never be without it. All right, have a great week. See you in class. Bye.